The trophy photographs were not even cold. Washington, the first Monday in August, a final the rain had cut in half and dragged across 2 days, handed back to a player who was a set down and leading 2-1 in the second when the covers came on. Confetti still on the court. And then, on a small island in the Mediterranean, a man who retired from tennis in 2024 picked up his phone and posted this. Congratulations, Alex Eala. What an incredible week in Washington. A well-deserved trophy for all the hard work. Congratulations to the Philippines and to the entire Rafael Nadal Academy team. Listen to that last clause again, and to the entire Rafael Nadal Academy team. Not a congratulation, not a courtesy note from a retired champion to a young player who had a nice week. Not a legend patting a good story on the head from a safe distance. That is a claim. That is an academy invoicing itself for 8 years of work in public before anyone else could write the history. Because this is bigger than a first title, bigger than a first title for a country, bigger than one wet Monday in Washington that the schedule forgets by Thursday. This is the story of how the first WTA Tour title ever won by a player from the Philippines was engineered in a Spanish town called Manacor, and how Rafael Nadal made sure everyone knew whose fingerprints were on it before the champagne dried. Before we get to the man who actually built it, there is something about that message that almost everyone quoting it missed. Nadal has sent them before. March 2025, Miami. Eala, ranked 140 playing on a wild card, had just beaten the world number 2, Iga Swiatek. Nadal wrote, "We are extremely proud of you, Alex. What an incredible tournament. Let's keep dreaming. We extremely proud of you, we." Twice now, at the exact moment the world turned to look at her, the Academy has claimed a share of the result. In Miami as we, in Washington by name, once as a courtesy. Twice at the 2 biggest moments of her career is a policy. So what are they claiming credit for? Here is the part nobody explains, and it matters more than the scoreline. An academy at that level is not a school with courts attached. It is a substitute nervous system. It supplies the hitting partners who are better than you, the schedule that decides which weeks you play and which you rest, and a coach whose job is to still be there in the 6th year. Talent is common. That structure is not, and almost no country on earth can hand it to a 12-year-old. Eala arrived in Manacor at 12. Her coach's words, not mine. This is a special project because it's also borne the hallmark of the Rafa Nadal Academy ever since she arrived at the age of 12. She graduated from the program in 2023. Understand the cost? 12 years old and you leave the Philippines for an island where you do not speak the language and where every friend you have is asleep by the time you come off court. Most do not fly home for the holidays because the off-season is the training block. You trade your adolescence for a system, and most children who make that trade get nothing back. The tour is full of them. She got a WTA title back, so who did the building? His name is Joan Bosch, and his record is the most underreported thing in tennis this week. Born in 1975, Mallorcan, he came through the Balearic Government School on the same courts as Carlos Moya, the man who would become world number 1. He never made it as a player. He qualified as a physical education teacher and worked at the Balearic School of Sport, where he met a coach called Tony Nadal and Tony's nephew. Then he went back to Moya, not as a training partner, as his coach. 7 years in which Moya won the Masters events in Cincinnati and Rome and spent 3 consecutive seasons inside the world's top 8. Bosch went on to run the Balearic government's technification program, the pipeline that produced Jaume Munar, who reached a career high of 33 at the end of 2025. He is still listed as an under-18 coach at the Rafa Nadal Academy. He has worked with Eala for 3 years, and it was Tony Nadal who put her in front of him in the first place. So when Eala walked out to serve for the biggest title of her life, the only traveling coach in her box was the man who took Carlos Moya to Rome. That is not a lucky pairing, that is casting, and it explains what the scoreboard did. After the round of 16, Eala said this, "Joan, who's here with me, is my confidant. I trust him a lot as well as my team who's back home." Then she repeated his instruction. He said that I just have to keep going because if I'm there for every ball, I'll have my chances. And I did. Like always, he's right. If I'm there for every ball, I'll have my chances. Now look at the final, 4-6, 6-4, 6-love, a set down, a breakdown at 4-3 in the second. And from there, Alexandra Eala won the last 9 games of the match against the top seed. In the third set, she took 18 of the 26 points played. Jessica Pegula did not win another game. That is not inspiration. That looks like an instruction being executed. Be there for every ball the chances arrive. Bosch, on why she does not shrink. For some, it could be a source of stress and extra pressure, but she seems to thrive in this situation. He has also described her flatly as a 100% Academy product. One more scene, and it is why the institution feels entitled to the credit. Bosch has told the story of Eala struggling on the practice courts in Manacor with Tony Nadal watching when Rafael Nadal walked over. Not to say something encouraging and leave. Nadal, in Bosch's telling, picked up the racket and started hitting some serves to teach her what he was saying. A 22-time major champion correcting a young player's serve by hitting it himself. Bosch's verdict: you can't have someone better than him. And then, that's the luck of being at Rafael Nadal Academy. A draw does not care who taught you. She beat Zheng Qinwen, an Olympic champion. She beat Leylah Fernandez. She beat the second seed, Elina Svitolina. Then Naomi Osaka, third seed, four-time major champion, 6-4, 6-2. And then Pegula, the second seed, the third seed, and the top seed inside 4 days. On the draw, Eala said afterwards, it was a very steep hill. And then, at the beginning of the week, there is no way I would have thought that I would be holding this trophy. One last piece of symmetry. The player who ended that Miami run in the semifinal was Jessica Pegula. 16 months later, Pegula is across the net again, and this time she loses 9 games in a row. Same opponent, different player facing her. Eala entered Washington ranked 28. She leaves with a career high of 27 top 10 wins this season, level with Rybakina and Svitolina, and a country's first ever trophy on the WTA Tour. The Philippines gets the flag, and it has earned every second of it. The history is real. But the tennis was built in Manacor, built by a man who never made it himself, who learned his trade beside Carlos Moya and then coached him, and who has spent 3 years telling a young woman to be there for the next ball. Rafael Nadal did not send a congratulation, he sent a receipt. Some champions are discovered, this one was made.